Okay, I cannot believe the time has come where I'm actually going to start somewhat installing the audio. Well, before I do that, I do have to remove a bunch of panels in the car, and then just get organized. And then I have to do tons of research on YouTube to try to figure out how to hook this up. Thankfully, throughout the entire process, I've had so much help, so many great tips and DMs and comments on the right way to do things. I've probably learned more from all of my friends on like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube than I have watching videos. So, you know, that's pretty special. So let's get to it. I got my speakers in, and I'm afraid of wires and speakers. I'm not afraid of them, but I'm terrible at them. I don't know. I just don't like it. I just don't like wires. But anyways, I'm going to really apply myself. So let's take everything out of the box and take our time with it. Now again, I ordered everything from Crutchfield, and I know that this is kind of like, you know, going to Best Buy and ordering a whole, you know, home entertainment system. I know that there's better deals out there. I know that there's probably better systems out there, but you've got to learn to walk before you run, kind of a thing. So I feel like this is a learning process, and I had to like go through this to get to where I am right now, right? So I don't know. I'm happy with the kit that I got for what it is, and I'm sure down the line I'm gonna probably do something else, or you know, maybe the next car that I do audio in, it'll be different. But for now, I'm stoked. Okay, in my best interest of not dying by heat stroke or asphyxiation or both, I'm gonna open up the windows. Man, this speaker thing, it's a lot. One of the most annoying things about the job is just the confined space that you're working in. So I'm kind of stuck in this hot car. I've got the windows open, you know, I do open the trunk, but it's not the most comfortable position. It's not the worst though. Like every time I get frustrated, I think to myself, would I rather be laying under a car, doing, you know, exhaust or, I don't know, something there? No. I mean, at least I'm not filthy, at least I'm not under a car, at least I'm not laying in pavement. Definitely worse jobs. And I get to take a little break and, you know, sit back. The plastic panels, these guys, they just kind of pop right out. These are in pretty good condition, these little scuff plates, so I'm definitely going to save these. I will be painting everything black or dyeing. I'm not sure, you know, which way I'm going to go about doing it. I did buy one of these like pop-up paint tents that I think is just going to make it a lot more easy to paint everything and not have to worry about the overspray. So that's the plan there, and then I've experimented with a few different types of paint products. One of them was complete garbage, so I ordered another one that's on the way soon. Taking off these little seatbelt clips, obviously removing the seatbelts, it's all just part of the process. I do my best to, you know, put those screws back where they go, the bolts back where they go, so I don't lose them. The rear seatbelts, those will not be going back in there, so if anybody needs rear seatbelts, I've got rear seatbelts. I've got rear seats too. If anybody wants the stuff that you see me take out of my car, send me a message, it's yours. So with the seatbelts removed, I can start removing the rear passenger plastic panels. You know, it's a tough job because something always seems to break or snap. And the casualty count wasn't too bad on this. I did snap a couple little pieces, but when that happens, I usually use JB Weld plastic, and that stuff's a miracle worker. I've saved so many things. I've probably made them better with this JB Weld plastic stuff. So, you know, save the broken pieces if you can, and then just, you know, weld them back together with that wonderful JB Weld stuff. the trunk, so maybe a little bit more ventilation. Oh God, opening the trunk from the trunk is actually really hard. I don't think these little guys will work anymore. I don't think I need them. So take all this stuff out. The rear deck, it's pretty interesting. I had to do a little bit of YouTubing to figure out how to get this out. It is this almost like solid, big plastic piece that holds 2 speakers and then 2 smaller speakers and 2 amps. And it is heavy. It is very, very heavy and cumbersome and awkward. So there were about, I want to say 4 double-ended studs, and you had them popping out from the top of the rear deck and then from the bottom down these long canals in that lower plastic piece. So once you kind of figured out how it was in there, it was pretty easy to get out, but just be warned, this thing drops, and it drops fast and hard and a little bit, you know, surprisingly fast and hard. Obviously I'm not going to reinstall it, you know, it doesn't fit with the new speakers. I don't want this big heavy plastic piece in here, so, you know, I did end up just kind of discarding it. And, you know, I'm not reusing any of the amps, I'm not reusing any of the wires, you know, I just really wanted a clean slate so I could, you know, do my own thing back here. And, you know, doing it from scratch, you know that you did it yourself, you know, you didn't reuse any of the old wires, so I don't have to worry about, you know, something that I didn't replace not working properly. Like, if it doesn't work properly, I know that it's something that I did, versus like a failure on something old that I didn't bother replacing. With all that junk out of that trunk, I can go ahead and wipe this down, clean it up, make it nice and pretty. Okay, well, looking at the whole the rear deck, I realized I was gonna have to makeshift or kind of like make some kind of a bracket to hold one of the amps at least. The 4-channel amp that I got is a little bit too wide to go on either side. So originally I thought, well, maybe I'll make something out of wood, out of plastic. Anyways, I ended up just going to True Value down the street from my house, and I ended up finding this really perfect piece of, metal. It's like a piece of steel. I decided that I was going to use that as my base for my amp, and then use rubber spacers when I mount the base under the rear deck. Put the rubber spacers so there'd be, you know, there wouldn't be any like metal on metal. And then I also plan on covering the entire thing with sound deadening, you know, mat. So it's off to Ace we go. I'm back, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I learned, you know, a fraction of what is needed to learn to install this audio. The one thing that I realized, I'm going to prepare the wires for the amp and the speakers. So that's gonna be what I do right now. Let's go. So, for whatever reason, the wires like left and right and front and back, and I don't know, the wires just kind of confuse me a little bit. I mean, not anymore, but in the beginning there just seemed to be a lot of them. And wiring's not exactly my strength. I wanted to take it slow, so I decided to prep all of my wires beforehand. Like, cut them to size, prep the ends, you know, solder them to the little connectors, put some shrink wrap over it. So when I was routing the wires in the car, I wouldn't have to do so much of that stuff in the actual car. So this is just my prep work for everything. I think that I'm happy that I did it this way, and I would definitely recommend doing this way. The more prep work that you can get done outside of the inside of the vehicle is a more pleasurable experience, if you ask me. And then I tape everything too on both ends, because I was thinking, you know, by the time it goes from the front to the back, I might not know which one it was. So I spent that extra time and that extra money to buy all this little different colored tape that it's probably not necessary, but you know, I did it. When I was a kid, my dad used to make speaker cabinets. I don't know why he would sell them. He would make them for music, and he would usually let me do some part of the speaker cabinet, whether it was like hammering on the corners, or sometimes he'd let me solder the wires, sometimes he'd let me screw the speakers into the actual cabinet itself. So I learned a little bit of that. Well, I guess I learned all of soldering from him. Not that it's like, you know, rocket science or anything like that, but I know the importance of creating a you know, a good tight connection, especially in this car with these coilovers. Like, you hit one like bump and, you know, your brain's out your ear, and you know, your wires are gone, just disconnected from everything. So I wanted to sleep at night knowing that all my connections were solidified with solder, so to speak. And then obviously just putting, you know, nice little ends on it, and heat sealing everything. I wanted to find these like cool Kicker brand ends, but I couldn't find them anywhere, and I thought no one's gonna see anyways. It's not like it's a show car. It's not like I'm gonna like go to car shows and open up the trunk and show my bitchin' audio that I, you know, DIY'd myself. That's not happening. Not with this car anyways. Yeah, so just making all the connections nice and secured. You know, when I was a kid, I actually, I remember it was a horrifying experience, because my dad let me, you know, screw in one of the speakers. And he told me over and over again, you know, don't, take it slow, don't go too fast, because you could slip and you could poke a hole through the speaker. Of course, that's exactly what I did. That's the first thing that I did. You know, I was finally given the chance to do something. I was probably like 6, 7 maybe, and right through the speaker. And you know, he wasn't too happy, but he actually like wasn't fuming mad, and he got this like speaker glue. And I remember it was like this golden color. It looked like honey. It smelled so good. And he managed to repair the speaker. And I don't know if I got a second chance. I probably didn't after that. These tools that I'm using, like this soldering iron, this was my dad's soldering iron. So this is like the family soldering iron. This is the same soldering iron that I stepped on as a kid when I was like 3 years old. You know, I'm not gonna tell you exactly how many years ago that was, but it was A, painful, and B, I mean, this thing's probably like a fire hazard at this point, but it works just fine. It's just very heavy, so when you're like holding it like this, waiting for the wire to heat up, my arm's like dead. Then these little wire strippers that I use too, classic. My dad, man, he had a tool for everything, so these come in handy. I'm very grateful that I have so many of his fine tools in my back pocket. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. I have all my speaker wires, you know, prepped, ready to go. My speakers labeled, because at that time when I was preparing my wires, I was even thinking like I might forget which speakers go where. That is dumb. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't, clearly. So coming up, next video, we're gonna start actually installing things into the car. It's gonna be a long process, but it's so much fun. I'm already thinking about the next car that I want to do audio to. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.